Hello, Lori Michelle, the Moshiach. Today, giving you answers to confounding questions. Hashem has given me answers and more information about the resurrection of the dead. If you clicked on this video, hopefully you believe in Hashem and redemption, and it's not far-fetched. I personally know without any doubt at all that the resurrection of the dead can occur. I have zero doubt. There have been circumstances in my life that showed me without a doubt it's possible. And I don't know really anyone else who knows what I know in that regard. There are people who believe it without any equivocation, but they don't have the knowing. I know that it can happen. Redemption is another story for me. I believe in the plan for world redemption. I believe that we can redeem the world and that Hashem is prepared to bring forward all the miracles that are in prophecy. But redemption requires billions of people to wake up and listen to Mashiach. And you guessed it, it's me and ain't no one else coming. And that angers a lot of people. But this past year, I have several of you who know I'm not a liar and I'm not crazy and I'm sharing what I'm supposed to. I'm risking everything to give you what he wants you to know. And I speak about the resurrection of the dead in this book. I explain where it's going to begin. In the book, I speak about Hashem showed me the tunnel by the Kotel Plaza in Jerusalem where it's going to start. At least that's what I thought at the time. In 2013, I came to Israel for my very first visit. And that's when he gave me that vision of 10 IDF soldiers, and I speak about it online and in my book. 10 IDF soldiers came through that tunnel. They came from nowhere, Shemayim, not nowhere, but not from the physical world. And they came through the tunnel and walked into, fully clothed IDF soldiers, into a crowd of roaring, elated people. And they were accompanied, he said, by Eliyahu Hanavi. At the time, when he showed me this vision, I did not know the identity of who Eliyahu Hanavi was, but I actually knew who he was in this world. I didn't know that the person who was Eliyahu Hanavi that I knew was going to die, and then Hashem would reveal to me that he was Eliyahu Hanavi. He says that's correct. Previous to his death, did you tell me? Just shortly before he died. But I knew who he was, not at the time of this special vision of the Kotel Plaza of 10 IDF soldiers coming through. I didn't know that. So when I wrote the book, I included that vision and that explanation. I have other explanations about the resurrection of the dead, what's going to happen, and where they have to go when they cross back over and come into this world. But today he wants to share more information. So since I wrote the book, I've seen a couple of rabbis speaking online about prophecy that there were two people that were going to be resurrected from the Mount of Olives. And he said it's in prophecy. And he told me a year or two ago that those two people were in prophecy and that before the crucifixion, I'm going to lose a lot of Jews on that one, right? He said maybe. Before the crucifixion of Yeshua ben Yosef, those two men were supposed to be Eliyahu Hanavi and Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus. But we know what happened, right? He was crucified in a gruesome crucifixion, Moshiach, Ben David, and that prophecy didn't come into being. So Hashem says that prophecy must occur, but it will not be Eliyahu Hanavi and Yeshua ben Yosef. And you can read why it won't be Yeshua ben Yosef in my book. It's all over the internet. You can watch 500 videos, or you can just go online and buy the Torah part 2. So the two who were supposed to emerge from the Mount of Olives, he says, still must occur. That prophecy must be fulfilled. And he says 2 men will emerge from the Mount of Olives before the 11 that I saw in 2013 in prophecy when I first visited Israel. And he says that's correct. So there'll be a total of 13 people who return from heaven, Shemayim, and come back into the physical world prior to world redemption. And he said that's it until the world is redeemed. He also says that there'll be people ready for the 11, Eliyahu Hanavi and the 10 soldiers. We will be prepared for that occurrence. We're going to gather at the Kotel Plaza and wait for them. Sorry about that. Just gave you a little shake there. So we'll be gathered there. It'll be very exciting. But the 2 from prophecy, from the Mount of Olives, the 2 men, he said, will return before that special day when we're prepared, and they will come back here unexpected, and they will be disoriented. So then I asked him questions today, and this information is brand new to me too. So I said, these 2 that are going to come back before the 11 that are written about in my book, are they going to know where they are? He said they're going to be disoriented. I said, are they going to remember Shemayim, where they came from? He said, yes, with detail. And he's talking right now, consistent with information that's been shared and written about for generations. And so will the 11. They will remember their experiences in Shemayim. Okay, here's more information. He's sharing now. This is new to me. They won't remember previous incarnations. They will remember the life that they died and left, and they're returning to that life. He says yes. They will have no memory of previous incarnations. They will remember who they were when they died, and when they return, this is also new information. He says they'll return at the age they left. So if they died at 20 years old, they're going to return as 20 years old. If they died, Eliyahu Hanavi was a grown man, he will return at the age that he was when he crossed over and died. And if they had any physical ailments, they will come back in perfect health. And that, he says that's true. Perfect health, and they will return, and there will be no more returns until after the world is redeemed, which you're going to have to show me, people. You're going to have to redeem the world, and then, wow, how exciting. So, speaking about the return of the dead in the future, I pray it's true. I only want to be in a world that is like the one Hashem describes, olam-haba, where we can live eternally in our flesh and that we don't have to die. And the dead can be resurrected and return. I have details of what they're supposed to do when they return. And this is also something that I need to relay today. He wants you to know that it won't happen all at once. It'll be an orderly process of return over many generations. He says yes, and there will still be death in this world for quite a while, because we're going to go through a horrible, hideous nuclear war. And the aftermath of what goes on in the next decade is going to be so horrific. Our world is also in a state of horror right now. Pollution, it's terrible. The oceans, the air. We're going to spend at least 1,000 years cleaning up the disgrace that humanity has created. And lots of people will die, but we will have the knowledge that we can return. Some people will reincarnate, some people will return. I explained that part in my book. But what he's also saying to share today is that when we return, I don't think I explained this in the book. We come back at the age we left. So if you're 90, you're going to return as 90. If you're 50, you're going to return as 50. He said, yes, in perfect health. 90, but in perfect health. And then I said, so are we going to stay 90? No, that I already guessed was not going to be the case. He's going to reverse the aging process. So eventually, in many generations from now, he says, we're not going to age. And that aging is going to be a form of illness, that if we see that we're aging, we're going to know we're doing things wrong. And it's going to be an alert, an alarm bell. Oh no, I'm aging. And we're going to have to do teshuvah and cleanse and figure out which mitzvah is missing in our life. What are we doing wrong that's causing us to die? Aging is a form of death. And I saw online the other day that in Israel, they're coming up with a cure for necrosis, cell death. And I said, Hashem, I think that's what I've got. He said, no, you don't. But I look in the mirror and I'm aging and I hate it, because to me, I know I'm dying. I know that every time I look in the mirror and I see my flesh withering and aging, it's a sign of death. And I worry that I'm going to die before we bring this forward and redeem the world. He says that's not going to happen. And another thing that I share in my book, if you've read it, is one day I was lamenting while I was living in New Jersey that I was aging. And I said, oh, Hashem, I'm aging. And he said, don't worry, Lori, transfiguration. And I said, what? He said, look it up. So I did. And I had never heard of that word before. If you're Christian, you know what it means. And I was dumbfounded when I put in transfiguration. The first thing that came up was Jesus. I was like, what? What is this? So he says that at some point, as we go forward on the road to redemption and more people jump on board and we're really working hard to redeem the world, he says he's going to do a transfiguration, meaning he's going to reverse the aging process. But he's going to do that also for people who return from the dead. And let's say they returned from the dead and they were 70. If they do the right things and they do the mitzvot, he will reverse the aging process. So I joke with him all the time. There's a Carly Simon song, and I sing it to him, and I say, transfiguration, you're making me age and keeping me waiting. I'm old. I like Carly Simon. Anyway, so a little bit of levity, very serious subject. He says that this is going to happen, that we're going to redeem the world, and we're on a schedule. That's also in the book. 2033 is the target date. And he says we're still on target. I can't believe that. 2033. He says we're on target. There's going to be a big wedding on Temple Mount. Why don't you want to read the book? You think I'm a kook? I'm not a kook. I'm not a kook. I'm not a liar. I'm the Moshiach. I hope you enjoyed this. He says it was very good. If you're one of my students, I think you enjoyed it. He says this is going to happen. And I totally believe in the resurrection of the dead. Redemption? I'm from Missouri now. Show me, people. Redeem the world. God bless you. Peace on earth in our generation. He promises you're going to wake up. God bless you.